Hello friends, it's Sherry from Turquoise Dreaming. How you doing today? Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me. I'm here just having some fun at my craft room and I wanted to share what I was working on. And this is kind of my scrappy video, but not really because let me show you my scrap box. I don't know if you go back to the first video. Let's see, it was probably the beginning of April or end of March of this year. So, and I said I don't know how long it's going to take me to clear it out, but basically I cleared it out and just added these few things the last week or so. But I've got this black cardstock and this is it. This is all I have. You see the bottom. I can see the bottom. So, last week I left you with I had a bunch of strips left. I'll show you what I did with them. I had fun one night for a few hours. I was determined to use up every one of those strips. And I got myself some new butterfly punches. I don't have the punches here. But I went to town on those strips. And there are 3 sizes of butterflies. So here's like the biggest one. This is double-sided. I just used all of those strips. This is the biggest one. And let's see, the medium. I think that might be the medium size. Let me find one of the tiny ones. Here's the tiny one. The tiny ones are really tiny. But I just spent, I don't know how long. It was at least 3 hours. It might have been 4 hours. Punching butterflies out of those strips. So that's the 3 sizes of punches I got. It was a little set on Amazon and I can link it below this video. But that was super fun and they're so cute. I love them. So, and they're all, here they are. Let me show you all the glorious beauty here from my scraps. So I've got, I don't know how many butterflies are in here. I mean, this is a dish. Let me see if I can show you. See, it's a candy dish. So, and it's full of those butterflies, all the 3 different sizes in there. So I'm probably going to leave them in here and just whenever I need a butterfly, I'll come through and dig through and get some butterflies. But, you know, I like to use butterflies, so these are going to come in really handy. Much more handy than a bunch of strips sitting in my scrap box, right? So since my scrap box is basically empty, I decided I've been wanting to do something more with my Edith Holden books, so I decided today was the day. So I got out I was watching a video. I had watched this video a while ago, and I have been wanting to do some envelopes. And I know how to do envelopes, but, you know, sometimes you forget, like, oh, yeah, why don't I do that when you see somebody else do it? So I was watching Carla Frizzell make some envelopes, and I was like, oh, I could do that with my Edith Holden or whatever, you know. So I thought that would be a great Edith Holden project to do. So I have these, see, I have all these. I went through and she used music too, and I thought that would be a perfect background. Some vintage, because I want to use some vintage paper. And I thought, you know, what more perfect than to use some music paper for some envelopes. And these are the perfect size for envelopes. And I have some music that is double pages. You know, they're together, and I didn't want to take those apart because those are like great for journals. I didn't want to cut them apart. So I got another one of my music books that I have where it had a spiral. I undid the spiral so I could keep the little holes. I didn't pull them out of the spiral. They had 2 little bent ends, and I bent the ends so that I could just spiral it right out. And there you go. And I coffee dyed some pages. So I've got all these ready to go. If I want to go to town making envelopes, I have a bunch ready. So I got that ready. And then, so before the video, I did a little preparation here and took 3 of the envelopes. So I'll tell you how I did it, and just in case you've never made envelopes or, you know, made envelopes out of anything besides maybe an envelope punch board or something. This is, like you saw, a rectangle piece of paper. So you can use any rectangle. And what I did was take it, I folded it up, I left a little room here, see right here between where you put something in the envelope and the flap, there's a little space right here. So I left a space on all of them so that that makes it easier to get in the envelope. And then I made my little flap, okay, and I folded it down. I left this part squared off, and I rounded the corners on the top. So then I had that fold. So then I took it over to my sewing machine and just sewed around the whole thing. I like the look of the sewing on the envelope, even though you don't need it up here on the flap. I just like the look of it. So I just took so you can see where I started right here. I took and sewed all the way around there. So I have it on my flap, and I have sewed it together here at the same time. So that part was, you know, that's easy. If you don't sew, you can just glue this part together. You don't have to do the sewing, right? So then I decided to do a little experimenting with my Edith Holden pieces. So I did them in 3 different ways, so you could see maybe 3 different ideas of how to use them. So I took some images from Edith Holden pages, and this one I ripped out, just not willy-nilly, but kind of like not straight. You can see I just kind of ripped around the edge of the image, you know what I mean? Not straight across. So that's what this one is. And that one, I have them all kind of figured out the size beforehand here of what envelope they would fit on. So that one's for that envelope. This one, let's see which one. This one I cut out with scissors or my paper cutter or whatever, rounded the edges. And so like this one I did one sew. I sewed around all of the Edith Holden images. This one I did one straight stitch all the way around, and I distressed the edges. This one the next 2 I did messy stitching. So messy stitching is, if in case you've never done it, it's stitching that's not straight. And it's kind of purposeful messy stitching, and all you do is go around, and go around say one time, and then you go around again and kind of like weave up and down on your, you know, on and over your first round of stitching. So that's what I call messy stitching anyway. So that's that. This is a brown thread. You can use, I was going to use black, but I have some brown, so I used brown. But if I ran out of brown, I would use black. Here's another one. So this one, that one I cut, first one ripped around the image. This one I use my ruler to rip around, so it's more of a straight rip. And, you know, distressed again, so, and did the messy stitching. I left the strings, I think, left the strings on this one. I guess that's the only one I left the strings on. But I left the strings on all the envelopes too. So, yeah, I thought that would just be a fun element. So I'm going to glue these down, and I'm going to also distress around my envelope too. But first I want to glue these down, and then I'm going to do a little decorating. So let's, I think I can just glue these down with probably some art glitter glue. I have my Fabri-Tac and my art glitter glue here. Where is it? Here it is. It's laying on its side over here because it's near the end. But I cleaned out my little nozzle last night. If you're having trouble, especially during the end after you've used a whole bottle, your nozzle starts getting clogged. So I took it off and took it in my kitchen and rinsed it with warm water and got it all cleaned out. This part, the black part, this metal part, and even my needle I washed off. And I would just say, put your little drain stopper in your drain so you don't accidentally, if you drop, I didn't drop mine, but that's like one thing I'm paranoid of is dropping something in the sink and having it go down the drain and never to be seen again, right? So if you take it, especially in your kitchen where you have little holes in the drain, just put your little stopper in there so you can make sure you don't lose it down the drain, right? Just in case, you never know. I didn't drop mine, but I could see myself dropping it. So I was rinsing it. I was like, and then I looked down at the holes and I was like, oh, I better put the drain stopper in there because I can just see myself dropping it. And there it goes. No more nozzle. I have to buy a new one because I only have one, right? So I didn't trust myself. So, okay, so I'm just gluing these on, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So I did all my sewing before I turned on the camera because my sewing machine is over on another table and I don't have it like right here or anything that I can you know, I'd have to do a separate video of sewing and take you over to my sewing table and do the sewing, and I figured I'd just save some time and get it done beforehand. So there's one, and here's another one. So I thought I'd just do these 3, and you know, on camera to show you, you know, maybe give you some ideas. And you know, it's simple, but in case you need a reminder like I did, this is what you can do. And then I did kind of my own version of what Carla did. You know, I think she did her sewing a little different and stuff like that. And she used, she was using, I think, Peter Rabbit images, which I would love to do too. So that might be my next project because I love, you know, I love Peter Rabbit and bunnies and stuff. So I'd love to get out some Beatrix Potter and make some Beatrix Potter envelopes too. This one you can see is a little smaller. I'm going to put it near the top like that, and I'll show you why in a second. And yeah, I've had these Edith Holden books for a while, and I mean like a year or so. And I have a small one and a regular size one, and I just I have used some, but I just kind of, you know, I bought it to use it, but they're so beautiful, the pages and everything. I just kind of like didn't use it for a while, and now I'm kind of like, okay, I think it's time to start using my Edith Holden. You know, I can get more, I guess, you know, I hope when I run out, hopefully I can get more, right? So, okay, so all of those are glued down. And then, so before the video, now since I used up my paper scraps, I thought maybe next I'd attack my fabric scraps. I have 2 bags like this, Ziploc bags, where I throw my fabric scraps. So I would love to use up some of these. So maybe my next little series will be using up fabric scraps, but I did take these out of my fabric scrap bag and sewed, and this is what Carla did too. She made some little fabric strips for her envelopes. So these kind of like look like they would match. So I have a fabric strip here and a piece of coffee dyed lace, and I zigzag stitched them together. So on these I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac and glue these on. So I have them kind of divided up like, see, this one had a long strip here, and so I thought I'd put a long strip of this down here. On this one, I didn't want to cover up anything on the front, so I thought I'd put this one on the flap. And then this one, I again didn't want to cover up. You know how I kind of have a problem covering up Edith Holden. So on this one, I thought I made a little one, and I thought I would just put it right here. And then if I can put some buttons on here, I'll see. I'll show you. I've got some teeny tiny buttons I got out to possibly use on these envelopes. So we'll see if we think any of those fit on here, and I'll show you those in a second after we get these little fabric strips down here. So I think this is a fun way to, you know, do a little decorating. You're not really covering up any of the pretty Edith Holden. And also I have some other, I cut out an Edith Holden butterfly that I think I'm going to put right here. You see this big open spot? So that's another way to do it. To cut out the actual, you know, like fussy cut out the actual Edith Holden images, like maybe a bird or some butterflies or whatever, you know, flowers or whatever you want to cut out and use instead of, you know, covering up. You know, if you're worried about covering up something, just cut it out. That's what I'm saying. And then use it over another Edith Holden piece. So that's what I did with the butterfly. Cut out a butterfly. And so I figured I would use that because it was on a scrap actually. I think the butterfly was on a scrap too. So I cut it out, and I'm going to use it on top of another Edith Holden piece right here. So I'm putting my Edith Holden pieces together, if that makes sense. And I'll show you in a second too. Let's just get these. And these don't have to be completely glued down. I'm just kind of putting glue in the middle mostly, maybe a little bit up on the sides, but I'm not trying to glue them completely down. I just want them on here, and I think they look pretty just like that. They're just on here, but not completely glued down. They're just a little decorative trim on your envelope. And so I'm going to make these 3. I'm going to make some for my stash. And I thought I would try to make some for my shop too. So you can, you know, it might take me a little while because, you know, the sewing does take a little time, you know, to just get it all together. So, but I would say keep an eye on my shop if you're interested in any kind of Edith Holden envelopes or ephemera of any kind, because I want to make other Edith Holden ephemera, which I will be working on and showing you too. But this week is the envelopes, so I would say just keep an eye on my shop, Turquoise Dreaming on Etsy, and when I list a new Edith Holden ephemera, you'll see it pop up. So here's the butterfly. Let's go ahead and put that on, and then we'll do the buttons. This is a butterfly I cut out. This is the Edith Holden butterfly. So you can see the back. That's Edith Holden, right? So I'm going to put him right here. I thought I had him sitting here for a few days, and then when I was making these envelopes, I was like, oh, that butterfly would go perfect right there. So I'm going to go put some art glitter glue on him. And if you're worried about gluing things down and you haven't figured out your glues, art glitter glue and Fabri-Tac are my go-tos. So, and they hold things down. I mean, I didn't use them at first when I first started. I didn't know about them. I used, you know, other glues, and I learned about these two and tried them, and they are everything everybody says they are. They're the best. So, okay, see, doesn't that look pretty? And it looks like almost like it was always there, like it belongs there. So there's the little Edith Holden butterfly. So the buttons, let me put my lids on my glue real quick. That's the Fabri-Tac. I will need that Fabri-Tac to glue down the buttons but I just need to put the lid on it right now, you know, so it doesn't dry out and do terrible, weird things. So here's my little buttons that I thought I would use. These naturally colored ones here. They're little tiny buttons right here. So this is how I organize my charms and all that kind of stuff. So in these are the little Dollar Tree organizers. I love these. They don't take up a lot of room. You can stack them up, and I had to keep them in a drawer, so keep everything organized. So here's some of these little buttons. Let's see. Let me get some of all the colors. There's some dark brown, some medium like tan, and some lighter like beige here. So let me just grab a few of all. I won't need this many, but I just want to have all the colors here. So let's see. See, I don't want to make things too bulky. That's why I pulled out these little ones, because I also pulled out these bigger ones. And I really do like these too. Maybe we'll pull a couple out and see if I get brave enough to use any. Like this green one would be really pretty. Here's a little, that's a perfect color for Edith Holden, right? And here's a little brown one. That would be pretty. Those 3. And there's some more of that color in here. So I'll get some more out if I need it, but let's just work with what we have for a second here. This is an extra piece of that fabric that I was working with. So, oh, I did a little one too, because I had these 2 scraps, and that's a little piece of lace on top of this, so that's ready to go onto something. I just while I was sewing pieces together, I went ahead and sewed that together because I didn't want to throw it out. It's a perfect little cute little piece of you know, scrap fabric there. So let's see where we might want to put some buttons. All right, I'm thinking right here on this one would be cute. And do we want some little ones there? And I would probably do 3. So there's 3 different, I would do 3 different colors too. So there's 3 buttons. What is that? Yeah, I guess that's light, dark, and medium there. And so let's see about these. This one has room right here, or I could always put some on the fabric too. Like, how would that look? Let's try on this one. That would look cute. There's 1. I don't want to put too many on there. I could put 1 there, and then go up here maybe. Oh, I was going to show you on one of these envelopes. I did this one here, I did a stitching a little different. Let me show you real quick. I was doing straight stitching and I did a little zigzag here. So I just, it's like a matter of remembering to do that, like change your stitching to zigzag for a minute, for a second while you're going around your envelope, for some added interest. And so, yeah, I didn't do it on these two, but I remembered to do it on this one. I just forgot about these two. This one has the little holes in it too. I thought that was pretty cool. These two I already had out from another music book, but this is the one I did today. All right, did I have this one ready? Yeah, I had this one ready, but I made some more. These are all freshly coffee dyed today. That one I had in my stash from a previous book I took apart. So, okay, let's glue these down before my video gets too long here. One reason I kind of did some previous prep, with the sewing and everything. I can't go too long in my videos. I think if they're still cutting me off at, trying to see what time I'm at. Anyway, they're still cutting me off at a certain point, so if this video cuts me off, I'm sorry. But I am trying to get done before it cuts me off. I should get a timer. There is a timer on here, but it's hard to see. My letters used to be like in black, or my numbers for the timer, and now they're in white. And I really can't see them anymore. I mean, I can barely see them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what time is it? How long is this video? Okay, so a little Fabri-Tac doesn't take much, especially with these tiny buttons. I don't want it oozing out all over the place. So I'm just trying to put a little tiny dab on there without getting too much on there. I'm gluing these down right here, so we don't add too much bulk. So I think that's cute. And you know what? I might just put one button on this one. I don't like too many buttons on there. As far as it was looking too cluttered. So let's see, what color do we want? Green. I think the green or the brown. Kind of like that brown one. Yeah, let's go for that one. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just doing it. Just one button on this one. I'm doing what I like, right? Okay, and I like it right there in the fabric. So it's going over the fabric, and the fabric's going over the stitching there in the corner. I'm just pushing it down so that I can get that glue down on that fabric, it's Fabri-Tac. So in case you've never used it, it's made to glue fabric on. So, or glue something onto fabric is what I used it to glue this fabric on, and now I'm using it to glue a button onto fabric. So let's see how we want to do this one. Like, there's some room up here. So I think I want to use the small ones on this one too. I think I want to put see if I can put 3 up here, but in a different, not in a line, maybe in a little cluster. Like something like that. What do you think? I'm not sure. I don't want to hesitate, but I don't want to do it and then be sorry. Maybe I won't put any buttons on this one. Maybe I won't put any buttons on this one. See, even one button is not good. 2 buttons. Maybe just 2 buttons. Oh, I think I like 2 buttons. 3 buttons, or let's see. Yeah, like that, or like that. Kind of move them over a little bit. I'm trying to, there's something right there. I don't know if that's a little bird or what. It almost looks like a little bird, but it might be a bud of some kind, like a bloom of a flower. So try not to cover that up. I think I like that right there. Just 2 little buttons. I usually like to do 3 or 5 type things, but if I don't think it works, then I'm not going to do it, right? Gotta do what looks good to you sometimes. So we're just going to glue these down. And that will be it. So I hope you enjoyed this little Edith Holden video with the envelopes, and maybe try some if you haven't used your Edith Holden yet, like I haven't used mine very much. you know, this is something to try and, you know, maybe get used to using it. That's what I had to do. I made a couple weeks ago, I made all the tags and journal cards, and that kind of got me going. So you just got to do something, I think, maybe to get going and get used to cutting it up, and then, you know, then you're going to be more brave as you go along and be able to cut up more pages. And you kind of just have to pick a side, because I know some pages have both sides are beautiful. Pick the one you like most and go with it, okay? So let's see, I think my buttons are probably on enough, but let me show you. See, pretty? This one we put the fabric on the back, and we have a nice, you know, these are vintage music that I use. They're not new, even though I coffee dyed them. These were given to me. This music was given to me by my mom, and when she used it, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, whatever. And she cleaned out her music and gave me two or three big boxes of music. So I've been doing things with them, and so this is another idea for these little pages like this size. They are, just in case you want to know size, I don't want this video to cut me off, but about 5.5 by 8 1/4, something like that. So I'm gonna let y'all go. I hope you enjoyed the little envelopes. I think they're really beautiful, and look for some of these. I'm gonna be putting some in my shop, so see ya then. Happy crafting. See you next time.